Okay, so this is going to be a very informal stream, and this is also a random surprise stream. So if anybody shows up, that's cool, and if not, then I can send this to Defiant to take a look at later. Defiant was saying, hey, I streamed some VAT earlier. Do you want to take a look at the VOD and give me some tips? So that's exactly what I'm doing. But anyone can take a look at all this stuff and hopefully get something out of it. So what I did here was I took a look through Defiant Stream and I tried to find some spots where there could be some like easy improvement made, like easy adjustment that like makes for better outcomes. So I've got like 20 little tips total. We'll start off with just like hit confirming stuff and then some like mid combo decisions and then kind of overall strategy stuff and then end on just like a few matchup tips. So if I had more people in here off the bat, I would be like, hey, let's like do some guesses of like what's going on in each image and like see if you can guess what's wrong here. But since it's just me and, oh, hello, one person, what's up? I'll kind of prompt you here. So like looking at this height where she's jumping and looking at where Eltnum is on the screen, can you guess what's wrong here? Let me show you. Here, we'll get to some of that later. This is what this looks like. Now, this is not totally wrong. You can still salvage it, but it's going to be a lot easier to do just a standard B&B if you give yourself a little bit of delay after 2C, no matter what button you're pressing. Even if it's 5A. In this case, it's 5B. Look at how much easier that drill looks to do. That is looking a little tighter, like I've got a little bit less time afterwards to lengthen some things. Hey, what's up, Rob? So whenever you are starting out with 2C from close range, do yourself a favor. Always give yourself a little bit of time before your next normal, and that will allow all of your drill hits to connect with plenty of time for your next thing. And this is true of like 5C as well. You're going to pace yourself. 2C, 5C. Not... That's getting a little dicier there, you know? So just slow down in between your buttons and you will give yourself plenty of more space to get your drills in. Okay, so that is number one. Moving on to number two. Okay, so this one, this might be a little tricky to see. Look at his height. Look at this normal that just connected, 2A. Can you guess what happened here in the situation? We love 2C rebeat. 2C rebeat is great, but sometimes we get too close, especially because this is a big old 2A. And so we do 2C, 2A, and that connects, and then we're like, ah, what do, you know? So what you do about that is you buffer a B normal behind it. Do you see that on the left there? I'm doing 2C, 2A, 2B. That way, if it does connect, I can save my route. And that's perfectly fine, you know? So whenever you are throwing this out, it's perfectly fine to just like OS a 2B behind it, just in case your 2A hits. That is okay. You can even sometimes just see it and react and get a 2B in there. But yeah, that's a very common VAT thing. Everybody does that. You can just throw in an OS normal and cover yourself there. Okay, so this is getting into more of like the new routing stuff, which all involves like assault. It all looks like this. In some way or another, it all looks like that. Right? So something that I saw here was 5B, 2C, 5C, and this is now outside of the range where you can comfortably confirm. So especially if you're going to use 5B early in pressure, there's something that you should think about, and it is the hit confirm triangle. This term was actually taught to me by Jushichi, referring to Akatsuki. This isn't clear, so like some routing things were still a little more restrictive, but the idea is that if you press 5B, you're going to confirm with 2C, 2B. Like that, right? With Batista, it's actually very similar. Granted, you're not going to be pressing 2B at close range very much, but you will be pressing 5B, right? So if you get this and you go into 2C, 2B is what comes next. And you can still pick up and do exactly the thing that you were going to do before, and that's all fine. But you don't want to go from 2C into 5C unless you are point blank. When you are really close like this is like what you would think of as like your punish combo. Your go-to punish off of like anything mid-screen, right? And you need to be really close. So whenever you get this hit and you get this, be thinking of this. Okay, so here, kind of a similar issue. This is 2 hits of a combo, and it's out over here. Looking at the height, you know what happened, right? 2C connected, and then 5C came out. But in doing that, you're going to cut your damage by like 1/3. It's like really, really bad. You really, really don't want to be doing that unless you have them cornered, which I'll get into that in just a second. But when you are out here, you want to be thinking about rebeats. Something like that, right? You do not want to do this. If you can help it, if you can help it. You want to be thinking about how you're spacing your 2C, and especially if it is on defense like this and they're walking away, you want to get this into your side swap and all of that. Much, much more valuable. Ankle gator, that's amazing. Sorry, I'm a little late seeing that, but that's amazing. Yeah, the hit confirm triangle is actually, it's true of like a lot of characters. A lot of characters can do something really similar. So we're just applying that to VAT and the way that you can get like assault JAJC stuff off of pretty much anything once they're juggled, you know? Okay, here's another common one. This is 1 hit here. Is this 2C gonna connect? I mean, the answer is no, or I wouldn't really be talking about it. But this is a common issue that comes up too. Like you want to press 5A 2C and then go from there. Especially like when you're pressuring, you have some cool stuff that you can do with like 5A 2C, rebeat, 6-6B, stuff like that. But when you are on defense and you are sticking out a 5A on your defense, 5A 2C has this tendency to not work at absolute tip range. And it may be like a hitbox hurtbox thing in some cases. So like this is working because that 5A is connecting naturally. But if I'm catching the extended hurtbox of something, then it won't. And so what you always want to do when you're pressing 5A defensively is just go straight into 2B and pick up from there. You still get a good combo. That's, you know, 5C, steer ender, dash up, gem set, all that, right? But yes, if you're gonna press 5A on your defense, it had better be 5A 2B or 5A 5B if for some reason you expect them to be jumping. Okay, here's one. Look at the height. Whoa, they are way up there. And they just took 6 hits. What could have possibly sent them up there? It was 2 gems chain detonating. And this Wagner player just drilled straight into it. And up they go, right? They go way up into the air. Now you can get a 5B to connect in some cases, especially if they're like launching from the ground. But if you get that air hit and they have been hit by more than 1 gem detonation, you just want to meet them up there. So forget about throwing in 5B. It's actually just going to mess up your age row spacing. Let them come down just a little bit to this comfortable range, and then go meet them up there. Okay, so speaking of Triangulum, this is really important. Do you see this damage here? And you see this Triangulum here? I can just about assure you that there is no combo that saves enough proration for this Triangulum to actually do what it's supposed to do, which is knock them down. We used to have to worry about this a lot, because if you weren't really, really strict with your normal usage and you wanted to do a Triangulum ender, you would always have to worry about forward tech. You could only get a proper hard knockdown that could only like neutral or back tech if you saved all of your proration. So something like this. Oh, I actually even messed that one up too. Let's find a good one. It's actually been a while since I've done this. This is ST tech. There we go. That one worked, right? But so it's very finicky. It's very finicky to get it. And Triangulum, meterless Triangulum, is still useful in some cases. So like, just for example, if I'm like crushing an OS, actually here, let's throw on this. Let's throw on, oh no, I messed it up. I messed up my 3CAD. It's gotta be nice and fast. Yeah, so the advantage of gems here is you can do something like this, and you'll still blow them up, and when you do, oh no, I messed it up again. Okay. Here, let's save state this, just in case. And now they can't forward tech, and they're in a good range where I can do stuff like that, right? So Triangulum still has uses, for sure, absolutely. But you only want to use it if you're sure that you've got the proration for it. There was actually an interaction between Defiant and I at Siotaku where I did a high proration Triangulum, and I was like, oh, this knockdown is going to suck, but I actually just want to kill a little extra time so that I can like maybe secure Vorpal while they're in a knockdown state. So I'm going to Triangulum and then B flash kick and just knock them down and then like get Vorpal that way guaranteed. And then the B flash kick actually whiffed because the proration was so bad, and I got punished. So yeah, high proration Triangulum is no good. I would try and avoid it if at all possible. If you do get it and you kind of want to salvage the situation, as long as the proration is not too bad, you can then end in C flash kick, and that's still awkward. Like you still have to walk back to prevent them from forward teching out of the corner. But it's better than the alternative where if they forward tech and you set a gem, they've actually pushed you away from the gem. It's like you can't even like 5A it. It's really awkward. So be very careful with the Triangulum stuff. Okay, here we're 20 hits into a combo. And look at the spacing. We're somehow missing this gem that's like just above us. So like what happened here? How did we get here? Well, let me show you. So this is something that comes up a lot when you are doing side swap routes. So to my point of using this, we do this, right? Now I can't detonate that next gem. So when you are doing a side swap route of any kind, you are always going to be dashing under them and using 5B to det that gem. Okay, and as I showed before, we kind of have a funny opportunity here in this version. which is like A drill into 2C into more stuff. It's very, very prorated. You know, it's not optimal for damage, but you can certainly do it if you want. A kind of more simple approach. Let's try that again. I'm still doing it. Oh no, it's in my muscle memory now. Well, anyways, yeah, you can just 2BB, whatever, yo-yo ender, and it's fine. Just be careful. Whenever you're dashing under them, 2B is never the next go-to answer. You can do some cheeky setups where you like leave 2 gems on the screen, but from your side swap distance, they're like gonna backtech so far into the corner that like it doesn't really matter. So you just want your regular Oki. Okay, this one I feel partially responsible for. So what is happening here is we're trying one of those fancy new routes, right? And we're doing up forward assault. So sometimes when we do that, we either go underneath them completely, or we get kind of into an awkward spacing where we're just a little too close for comfort. The times when you do want to up forward are when you've used 5C, when you do 2A 5C det, because that is about as far away from you as they are possibly going to get, and you kind of need to chase them there. But especially if you're doing 5B B laser, that kind of det, they're going to be close enough that sometimes you'll just go over them, or under them, with your up forward. So in most cases, in almost all cases, I would recommend just doing a neutral jump instead. So like, you see there, that actually, they were so close that the gem pushed them towards me, but I still didn't miss it. It still worked. So if you're using 5C, then yeah, sometimes you'll have to chase them a little bit more, but 90% of the time, I would say neutral jump, and you'll be a little bit more consistent. I really should have included that in that video that I made about this new routing. So again, I feel like a little responsible for that one. My bad. But yes, I would definitely recommend neutral jump for those routes. It makes it a lot easier. Okay, here, what kind of hit are we getting here? We're getting an air 5cc hit. I want to say this was 2c 5cc. And I was saying earlier that you never want to do this facing away from the corner or like mid-screen, but it's fine in the corner. After this, you know, steer ender was pressed and we went from there. But what could have killed here really easily is whenever you get this air 5cc hit, you just do A ball. If you get a grounded 5cc hit, right, you do B ball and you pick up, whatever. If you get an air hit, you do A ball. Something like that, you know? And this I think is pretty easy to hit confirm. You should very obviously be able to see if they're in the air or not. And if they're in the air, just do A ball instead. It's not too tricky. Okay, this one is a little weird. I don't know if you might be able to guess this ankle gator. Can you guess what's happening here? I wish I could zoom in on Vat here a little bit, but my clue here is that she is using an EX move, and a low was used here, not a mid. What do we think about that? Yeah, 2C disco. How do we feel about 2C disco? It's minus. Yeah, which is not terrible. It's still safe, but it's minus, and we could be 0. Okay, when we 2C disco, let's get him guarding here. When we 2C disco, we are -7. I feel like it should be better than that. I thought it was -6 actually. Maybe not. But when we force function disco, we are 0. So if we're in a place like this, very close, pressing out of the corner, and we do this instead, we have much better options. You can actually do this gapless from anormals, which is crazy. And then from here, I'm trying to buffer a 5A after that. This 5A actually beats hide zone 5A and outspaces his 2A. It's that awkward spot where he's got a 7-frame 5A and a 5-frame 2A, and you've got a huge 6-frame 5A. So you are actually low-key at advantage in this neutral on block situation, right? So especially if you're fighting out of the corner and they have Vorpal and you want to put them in an awkward situation, this is much more potent. You're going from -7 to 0, and all it costs you is a block of grid. I think it's worth it. I think you should just simply always do force function disco. The times when I would see 2C disco is appropriate is if you're like way out here and you kind of want to check them. If you think that they might not be able to like react well from this spacing, then sure, you can do that. But even then, I still think this is better. Look at that pushback. So it's time to maybe rotate 2C disco out, unless you're going to back it up with CS. You can do some kind of funny things with disco into CS. I'm a big fan of this one. That will like auto confirm with the lasers. You get a second P drill if you want. I think it's like a decent use of resources actually. But yeah, 2C disco. So maybe back off from that one. All right, this is super common too. Everyone will do this at some point. You know what's happened here? You go to 2C gem set when they are in the corner. We were just talking about corner pushback, right? You go to do this, and you're like, my stubby little arms, I can't reach. Why? When you're mid-screen, you aren't being pushed back, they are. When they are cornered, you are being pushed back. And that pushes you out of the range of your gem. So this is still your best gem cancel. This is still like -6, and that's cool, right? But if you're not going to set that and then do something like that, if you're going to try and 5A detonate it, then I think that you actually have a better time in this version just using space to your advantage and doing something like this. Like, yes, you are definitely more minus. You're like -11. But at a range where it can be awkward to try and contest. You know, like, even if you stick out a 5A, okay, so what? Like, so what, you know? You have to be really on the ball to do something like 2-2A just immediately in that situation. If you do that, like, hats off to you. You really earned that. But this one, it's really only good for one thing, and it's that. Oh, true. Yeah, actually, for this extra pushback, if you're really silly, you can do that. But I wouldn't really recommend it. I think that's taking a little bit... That's being a little too disrespectful of your opponent. You should expect them to try and contest that in some way. At least by sticking out an anormal and trying to swat it away, which you can then like 5C or whatever. Or you just set it and let them like try and jump so that you can flash kick them, whatever. I think that I think that the detonations into mix-ups should pretty much be reserved for your Oki. I think that trying to force that stuff too much on block is usually a mistake. Sometimes you just have to be disrespectful to show them that if they're just going to sit there and not do anything about it, then not give you anything to whiff punish, then you're just going to be in their face and do some nastiness. But oh, the nice thing about this too, by the way, if you end up doing this, is it doesn't, as far as I know, it doesn't actually pick up on counter hits. Let me check this real quick. It does not. It does not pick up on counter hit, but it still sets you up at enough frame advantage that you can go in. Oh, well, now I feel silly, but I think you get the idea, right? Don't try for the 2C gem stuff in the corner unless you understand the situation does not involve 5A. Okay, moving on. This one, I just have to highlight that if you are ever, this actually should be in the strategy section, but if you ever have a 5 gem, and there is ever an instance where you're going to laser, please, for the love of God, shoot the gem. You make every Batista player so sad when you don't shoot the pretty gem. Like, if you've just got something hanging up here, use it. It's free real estate. Okay, the thing that actually went wrong here, this is 5cc b-ball. That's fine. The thing that actually went wrong here is not shown in the image, and it's that afterwards, all that we are getting is a laser. Okay, when you press this, you should always be ready to do this. That is a huge damage opportunity. Okay, very important, especially if you are ever going to stick this out round start. Like, okay, for example, just for example, high players sometimes like to start the round off with 2-2A, right? And we can interrupt that. Oh, I'm not gonna get the charge for it, am I? Okay. We can interrupt that, but what we want to be getting off of this is a full carry to the corner. Whatever, something like that. If you are sticking 5C out or using 5cc, into b-ball and you're not getting this combo, if you're just doing laser, you're cutting your damage in half, you're losing all of your neutral momentum, you're really screwing yourself. You really, really, really need to get those b-ball confirms, okay? This is true also just like regular counter hit b-ball, it's a truly excellent starter. You should always be aiming for this. If you are going to press 5cc at all, if you're going to press 5c at all at range, you need to have these. Okay, but what if, for whatever reason, you don't? Maybe, maybe it's not counter hit, and that b-ball hits really far away, right? Let's say this. That is what you are doing instead. If you don't do this, you're stuck at just a little under 2k, right? If you can get this down, which is not too difficult, then you're closer to 3k, and it becomes a lot more worth it to use. You know what I mean? Stranger, are you LOLing because it took you doing this over and over again for me to like start and catch up? Or are you LOLing that 5C is actually like really good? It's good. It's good because now we get something off of it without gem, right? But I do think that it is like a pretty high commitment in terms of like it's very easy to assault this normal, you know. It doesn't really cover the assault or the air well at all, so it's an excellent ground button, but you gotta use it for what it is, you know what I mean? Fair enough. Okay, let's talk about this for a second. Now we really are getting into strategy stuff. This is crouching force function, 2FF. And what is not on the screen right now? Vorpal. I just want to point out that the risk reward here is pretty bad. We're talking less than 1K for something that they potentially assault over and kill you for. Now, when you add Vorpal in the mix, suddenly this is a lot better. We like all that, right? That's great. But if you don't have Vorpal on board, please be very, very, very conservative with your crouching force function use. Unless it's gonna kill them. If they're at a pixel, then then it becomes a viable option. But just maybe save that one for Vorpal, especially because too, if you have Vorpal and they happen to assault over you, then you do that and you get your 4.2. So yeah. Not a problem, S2DC. Okay, this one, I'm not gonna lie, I watched Defiant do up back jump force function and it punished a throw attempt, and all that went through my mind was base. I was like, yeah, that's pretty sick actually. But the thing is, in these defensive situations, doing something like this versus doing something like defensive assault, I know that sounds crazy. Shoutouts to Stranger, by the way. But doing something like defensive assault is actually perfectly fine here too. I think this is a really cool thing that you can do. It's a really cool thing that you can do, but it has specific uses. Okay, so like, for example, if a character has a really good low that you want to deal with, then yeah, you could do this, and you are either quite plus, or you get a full combo. But I think that when you are in the corner, I don't know how much I value that over something like that, if you're just calling out throw. That is kind of a weakness of this character, is that she doesn't have a particularly good dive kick function, in my humble opinion, and this will at least always cost resources. So it's there as an option, but I would save this particular maneuver more for this spacing, where you can really crank the utility on that, I'm away and now I'm back, you know? If you're just calling out throw, this is perfectly fine, as crazy as it sounds. There is one other advantage to jump force function stuff that I will get into in just a moment here. Okay, this was pretty funny. This was an attempt to use jump force function on offense. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. By the way, what happened was it was like this. I've seen this several times, and it's funny every time. Yeah, Stranger, you're right. You can literally just up back JC as well. You can just fuzzy jump. So that's fine. You don't need to do all of this on top of it. Okay, so what we're doing with jump force function as far as offense goes, ideally, it should look something like this. Whoop. Nope, please. Oh, I'm kind of giving this away, aren't I? It should look something like this. Oh, that didn't work either. Hold up. Okay, it should look something like this. Yay, that one was cool. But what about like literally everything else? What about you know, your 2AOS or sorry, your 3COS and your Rising JAOS and stuff like that? Unless you are playing against someone who is delaying their OS options. By the way, this particular timing is a little early, so it's like this, right? But unless you're doing that, their anti-air OS is still going to kill your JFF. Yes, it is like faster than Assault by about 6 frames. But it is not so fast that you can actually just crush anti-air OSs with it. Part of that, by the way, is because this is head property. It's also projectile property, but it's head property. So someone can press 3C as you are like coming at them like this, and they're not going to get bopped because it's a projectile. They're going to bop you because it is head property, and their move is going to do what it does, right? So I will say personally, I am not the biggest fan of using jump force function as an OS crush, but I will admit that, especially because most people are doing this, they're not doing this, right? So it's not even like you're going to catch VO or something like that, right? You have to do it like that if you're going to. And when you do, you get like 3.5, 3.6. It's still a fine starter, you know? But you are not calling out any of the more difficult to call out OS options that you would be when you have a gem on them. Okay? When you have a gem on them, then suddenly all this stuff is a lot better. A lot faster, a lot more effective, a lot more rewarding without having to spend resources. Okay, so I'm not the biggest fan of it. Dash, jump back, extended hurtbox? Yeah, I mean, you can. They're still going to anti-air you most of the time. The utility of doing this is no different from the utility of just doing this. Against characters like Aurier that have like a very fast anti-air OS, but it's not very far-reaching, it's kind of stubby, you can literally just do this to the same effect. So we are finding fantastic new ways to spend resources for like very little utility when we have everything that we already need for better reward and less costs, like right there with a gem, you know? I think if you're going to use force function on offense this way, I think that you should just that. And then you have a nice like high-low opportunity on top of it. You do risk getting throw incidented a little bit more, but in my experience, her dash startup is so good. It's going to be like, it's going to be kind of hard unless they were like planning on whiffing this over here anyways. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I am not that much of a believer, but I will give it one prop. And I've been building up to this here. The one prop that I will give it is if you really, really need to make a life deficit up. Okay, let's say our life totals are like this, right? And you really need to make something happen. If you can get this as an OS crush, it is a bonkers good starter. Stranger's gonna laugh at me because I'm probably gonna do something that's slightly suboptimal, but I don't care. Oh, I got the last hit. Whatever. Yeah, ankle gaiters pogging so hard right now. Every Batista player would love to get this starter. This owns. This is like banger. So that is the one thing that I will give it. But in many other ways, in many other practical ways for dealing with your opponent's OS options, no, I don't think that it's any better than doing something like that. Maybe it is by about 6 frames. That's about it, okay? So when you are considering OS crushing, keep it simple. Okay, jump force function is there, but you have better options, okay? Yeah, it's true. Like, it's whatever. At the end of the day, you will do 5K from that starter. Like, if you're getting anywhere near what you need to, 5K will happen for you. It's pretty banger. All right, so now we're into just like a few final matchup things. This is something that I wanted to point out. Look at resources on the screen right now and look at what's happening. This is 5cc b-ball. So what should be happening right here? Wagner should be pressing 214C and kind of mauling. Now, there's a caveat to this. It's a pretty funny caveat. The caveat to this is that even if you do this and they are correct and they go ahead and use their anti-projectile EX move, right? You can levitate. Yay! And it even says that you're plus. But in all that I have labbed for the post situation, yeah, she air unblockables you anyways. It actually doesn't matter. So unless they like legitimately don't understand, they don't know how to do that, then sure, you can knowledge check them. But I would not, especially when they have Vorpal and Meter, bet on that. Okay. I mean, one thing that you can do to call it out is this. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. But it's not really something that I would wager on. So I would say, in general, when you're using 5cc, against characters with really strong anti-projectile moves, maybe don't. Especially when they have CS so they can like confirm the situation. Maybe you'll only get punished a little bit. You're still getting punished, okay? Don't put yourself in that situation. When you see that they have 100 meter like that, do what you need to do to be safe. Guaranteed. You know? Oh, yeah, sea drill. Okay. Yes, you can do that. But in this particular situation, Defiant does not have 100 meter, and he probably does not have those buffers just yet. That's a little more advanced, right? But just on a basic level, don't put yourself in that situation. There are basically two normals in your kit that are going to leave you extra open to things like that, and it's 2BBB and 5cc. These are really useful command normals. They're like really good for what they do, but they do have worse cancel windows. So it's something to keep in mind. Okay, this right here is Kuon throwing Batista and then putting out a wheel here. And what you don't see in this clip is that Defiant CS's, sees the wheel, sees his meter, and backdashes. And what we can be doing here is just punishing. Here, let's go ahead and do this. Okay. You must not forget, when you are playing this Batista champion, that C flash kick essentially acts as a horizontal reversal in a lot of matchups. Like it's not just this. There are a lot of situations where if somebody does something that is too unsafe to cancel from, you can actually just punish them guaranteed. I'm going over to the other character that I play, Landrekia. So if Landrekia comes up to you, I'm just going to walk up to you, her, and press 4CC, right? When he does this, you see 4C. Oh no, I didn't do it. This is guaranteed. There's actually nothing that he can do. It punishes him on no cancel, 4CC, 4C 214A. The only way that he stays safe in the situation is if he has Vorpal. Stranger has punished me for pressing this normal so many times. Because I said you should. It's essentially your horizontal reversal, okay? So keep that in mind. The other thing to keep in mind about this move is that if you're up against a character that is up backing against you a lot, you can actually dash block and get your charge for C flash kick. And anti-air them like that. And the great thing is if they're up backing away from you, probably you anti-air them towards the corner and you get a decent hard knockdown from C flash kick. It doesn't lead to like gem Oki, but you can push them towards the corner where you really want them. So this is really valuable in matchups like Yuzu, Merkava, even Kuon. Dash up and get it out there. Okay, so this one, maybe this isn't obvious, but there was no special used here. It may look like she just used B-ball or something like that, but no. Really what I wanted to talk about is in the course of these earlier games, I noticed that Defiant was not really committing to up back ball almost ever. This started to change throughout the stream, like he started to do it more, and then I was like, oh, okay, good. Because you need to cover your retreat. You know, you need to discourage them from just chasing you like this. And that means throwing out B-ball. If you're a little more confident, you can throw out A-ball, which is like an even bigger stop sign, but is like obviously slower. B-ball's really fast. But when you're up backing, you don't want to just simply empty up back multiple times and trust that they're not going to do anything. You very much want to cover your retreat. And there are some ways that they can try and intercept that, but it's really hard. And you get so much more space. It's basically like a second jump. Even if you just up back from round start, get that B-ball out, you're full screen now. You have so much to play with. I can't believe that. Is that real, chat? Is that real, plus 19? And then you check them with the laser? Yeah. That's the character we play, man. So, none of this. I don't want to see this, okay? I want to see up back ball, and then I want you to see you go through the neutral flow chart. Are they respecting laser? Yes. Barrier. Are they respecting barrier? Yes. Ball. Are they respecting ball? No. Laser. Are they respecting ball? Yes. More balls. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, you can vary that up with like setting gems or whatever else, but this is so fundamental to Batista neutral. Like you need to be doing this in order to discourage them just coming in on you, you know? And yes, you are giving up grid to do it, but that is the price for being oppressive. And up back B-ball is oppressive. You really, really, really want to be doing it, so please do that. Wow, we're actually at the end here. I wonder if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about, like kind of in summary. I think in summary, you can spend a lot of time optimizing your combos, but I think that optimizing your hit confirms and like knowing like where to fish for your hits and like how you can confirm off of things is just as important, right? It's really, really important stuff. So yeah, you can get deeper into like optimal combo theory, but just knowing how to make your own life easier in the course of a match is like, I think even more valuable. So While everybody is here, before I just go ahead and turn the stream off, does anyone else have like any thoughts or like any questions? Stranger, do you have like any input? Yeah, Ankle Gator 2B is very, very easy to backdash and punish. It's very much like a commitment, right? So like, let's say you're playing against Gordo, and Gordo here does something like this. He does this. So he was gonna, let me tell you a secret. This Gord player was gonna do this either way. And if you press 2B here, sorry. You give them what they want. You potentially give them exactly what they want by pressing 2B. So the things that you should be thinking about are not just what button hits them, it's also what actions can I take that turn the situation in my favor. Kind of the the low-hanging fruit or like the sweet candy to everyone is up back assault JC to get out of the corner. And if they let you do that, that's excellent. That's great, take that opportunity out. But against better players who are trying to space you out, the way that you mess with spacing traps in this game universally is with movement, safe movement, dash blocks. So in this same situation, they do this. You see that they have also moved. You moved with them. You are at frame advantage. At that point, go ahead and press. Unless they're the kind of Gord player that just does that. You know? But that's the idea. The idea is you don't want to commit too hard to something when you have softer callouts. Aim for softer callouts. I'm just going to read off of Stranger here. I think neutral RPS is great when implementing B-ball as a retreat cover, but sometimes people will not respect you or get caught up trying to win the cycle. If you end up losing space and grid, I recommend meeting them in the middle or sticking out a button to counter hit them when they try to run in and whatever. Gord is also very big on spacing traps. Oh, this is a different topic, but very big on spacing traps, so implementing shields with dash blocks becomes really vital. But yeah, if you, all right, this is kind of one standard aspect of the matchup, of any matchup, is you went ahead and checked a character with laser. Now they are running at you. Okay, you gave them the one laser that they needed, right? And suddenly they're coming in. So when you check with laser, like he was saying, this can be a good point to meet them with something like dash 5C or assaults. Or I actually will chill force function here. Force function is like low key. It's a really good way to stop both approaches for good reward. And it will also actually, it will also deal with assault fairly well. You don't have very many things in your kit that have such low recovery and also deal with assault in that way. Also, look how active it is. It deals with assault for an extended period of time. This is really valuable. If you're sticking 5C out always, you may have a bad time. Case in point. But force function, it costs grid for a reason. It's pretty good. So there's a ton of Batista counterplay out there, Master DC. I think that the most important things to keep in mind at a baseline are just anti-airing her out of basic things like jumping over you and pressing JC, or another common one is they'll do B-ball and then they'll assault JC to try and meet you after you rush in after. If you are playing the neutral patiently and giving them an opportunity to jump at you, and you're confident in your anti-airs, you will completely change the matchup. This is difficult to do, so I know that this may sound very like reductive, but playing against D Neko in 2019 at Evo like really changed my perception on Hyde Vat because of the places where he was willing to just wait and intercept me when I tried to meet him with things like Assault. For the record, Assault JC is like one of the easier Assault normals to anti-air. Assault JB is not. You cannot shield punish Assault JC. You can shield punish Assault JB. So there's a little dynamic to play there. But all of those dynamics go out of the window when she jumps over you, because suddenly this is like guaranteed. She's not going to just bop you with that JB on the other side. You have plenty of time actually to anti-air this. So I would focus, the first thing I would say to focus on in the Batista matchup, outside of dash blocking and not just getting constantly lasered to death, that's like the first thing that you overcome. But the second thing to overcome is understanding how they want to jump and how you can deal with that. Oh, Seth player, yeah. Basically, she will put more things on the screen than you can APM-wise, you know? But you also have ways to get around her zoning that are somewhat unique. So like, just for example, let's say this VAT player is putting out a bunch of balls at you, right? Oh, did it just undo it? Oh my lord. Okay. So if they're doing this, you have that as like somewhat of a unique tool. Oh, that's funny. And so on. So keep in mind your unique movement options. Also consider that when they are committing to things like this, they still are extending their hurt box a little more than they ever have been. So it's a little dicey, but you can thread the needle in places like that. You know what I mean? Ultimately, your first order of business as Seth in this matchup is get Vorpal. And if they want to give that to you freely by being a little too active and neutral, then you should take that first and then use it to get in and start your pressure. Okay? And you want to be thinking about their Flash Kick OS, and you have a lot of wonderful lows to deal with that. They will love to backdash, up back, flash kick. And all of your lows have a really good chance of dealing with that well. And it's okay to just end a string on this and come back and observe, wait for them to like 2BB and B-ball in the corner and jump at you. So yes, you are somewhat playing neutral on the back foot. But you have a lot of tools that you need to get in and get started. So it's hard, but it's definitely doable. True. 3B is it really lets you like stay low. It's also pretty fast. I guess they're the same speed, but like if this VAT player is like jumping over you a lot, 3B is pretty easy to use. You can do 3C. You can even do 2C. Oh, maybe not. You can do 2C with like Chaos. Maybe not with Seth. But I agree, absolutely. 3B is kind of goated. Me when Blink Storage is removed? Word. Yeah. Okay, final thing is how you play the Hilda matchup. And this will be my last thing, and then I'll hop off. But this is just my opinion. Okay, so please take this with a grain of salt. You know, a lot of players out there have different opinions on the way that they want to approach things. But I think my approach is that if the Hilda is under 100 meter and they don't have meter to, I hope you've all seen this before, 2-2-see you out of the air from full screen, if you don't have to worry about that, then you are at liberty, actually, to kind of just move around. And you actually can put a lot of pressure on them from full screen. And if you get a ball on the screen, it forces them to move. It forces them to move in some way. This is true of every single matchup, including Yuzu, even Yuzu. So if you back off, if you like can find a way to safely back off and get some things set up from full screen, then actually you can get the ball rolling. Where you want to be in this matchup is either full screen, setting up, approaching, seeing if you can like intercept her somehow, or call out an option, or you want to be doing gem things to her in the corner. Like, those are basically the places that you want to be. Now, once she gets 100 meter, then you have to be a little bit more patient, and you have to, like, quote unquote, interact with her a little more. I will say the one thing about playing the full screen game, even when she doesn't have meter, she has back spike. So if you are a little bit too eager, you can just get hit by one of her best starters that way. It's relatively slow, so this is like a kind of more of a call out on their side. But just something to keep in mind. Full screen A-Loom, and now we get the ball rolling. Exactly. That's how you do it. That is the fundamental approach with this character, is doing this. This should be very strong. And you should be layering it with other options like Gem Bridge and Barrier, and there's a lot of interesting RPS that you play in every matchup with A-ball approaches. It's really cool. Also, it makes your Assault JB so much better, you know? So, oh, you can even like that. Now, if they jumps, you will anti-air them. If they jump shield, you will actually air unblockable with them in combination with the A-ball. And if they block the A-ball and the JA, now you have a high-low situation that you put them in. And sometimes you can even go ahead of it and make it all gapless like that, or cover them shielding your JA with the ball. It'll still be plus, so. All right, hopefully this is helpful to Defiant and all of y'all watching. I'll go ahead and upload this. I might see if I can kind of trim it down to an actual video from the stream. That might be cool too, but thanks for coming through, y'all. Thanks for hanging out.